In the United States, stroke is the fourth leading cause of death. Every year, more than 795,000 Americans suffer from a stroke, and nearly 159,000 of them don't survive. If you're over 60, every bite you take, every spoonful, every sip, can either protect your brain or quietly push it closer to disaster. And what if I told you the most dangerous foods for your brains are actually the ones you eat first thing in the morning? I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to share with you what almost nobody talks about, but absolutely should. Certain everyday foods, those labeled as healthy, low-fat, or heart-friendly, may be silently increasing your risk of stroke and memory loss without you even realizing it. I've seen this again and again in my practice. Over more than 20 years working as a doctor, helping thousands of patients deal with brain health, strokes, and cognitive decline. Patients who think they're doing everything right, eating balanced meals, exercising, yet they walk into my clinic already showing signs of brain deterioration, hidden strokes, or dangerously thick blood, without any clue why. And very often, the real culprit isn't fast food or a lack of exercise. It's what they thought was a healthy breakfast, a simple snack, even a glass of juice that seemed harmless. So today, I really want you to stay with me because we're going to break down the top everyday food habits that could be damaging your brain without you knowing. Watch until the very end because the final food we'll talk about is shockingly simple, and I guarantee it will surprise you. Before we jump in, I have a quick question for you. What was the last thing you had for dinner? Do you think it was good for your brain? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's have an honest discussion together. And remember, what you're about to hear comes from decades of hands-on experience with real patients. And I believe it can absolutely help you stay healthier and sharper for many years to come. Now let's begin counting down the first group of foods that quietly push you closer to a stroke. They seem harmless, ordinary, even comforting, but behind that familiar taste lies a hidden danger. Salt-laden foods like the sprinkle of table salt, the fish sauce in your bowl, the pickled vegetables in your fridge, and those convenient canned meals. Salt. It seems harmless. A simple mineral we all need to survive. And you're right. Sodium is essential. It helps your body maintain fluid balance and supports normal cell function. But here's where the danger begins. When sodium intake goes unchecked, it stops being a friend and becomes a silent threat, especially for those over 60. In seniors, salt is like a pressure bomb ticking inside the bloodstream. Why? Because the aging body becomes far more sensitive to salt. Every extra spoonful pulls more water into your blood vessels, inflating them like an overfilled pipe, increasing the pressure inside. Just like too much water in a hose causes it to bulge and crack. Too much sodium raises your blood pressure, quietly damaging the delicate vessels inside your brain. This is why high salt intake is directly tied to hypertension, the single most dangerous precursor to stroke in older adults. The American Heart Association and the CDC both agree. Adults should limit their sodium intake to no more than 2,300 milligrams per day, and ideally aim for 1,500 milligrams daily, especially if you already have high blood pressure or cardiovascular risk. And yet, the numbers are shocking. The average American consumes over 3,300 milligrams of sodium each day. That's nearly double the healthy limit. And it's not just coming from the salt shaker, it's hiding in everyday foods. Canned soups, soy sauce, pickled vegetables, salted rice crackers, even processed condiments like fish sauce or shrimp paste. And if you're over 60, the impact is even worse. The same portion of salty food can cause your blood pressure to spike much faster than it would in your younger years. But the damage doesn't stop there. High salt intake also causes your body to flush out more calcium through urine, silently draining your bones and increasing your risk of osteoporosis, another silent thief of health and aging. The evidence is crystal clear. One large meta-analysis combining 14 cohort studies with over 150,000 participants and more than 5,000 stroke cases, revealed something terrifying. For every extra 5 grams of salt per day, just around 2,000 milligallons of sodium, stroke risk jumped by 23%. Think about that. One extra serving of salty soup or fish sauce could quietly set you on a path toward a disabling stroke, and I've seen it too many times. Let me tell you about Alice. Alice was 75 years old, independent, living alone, eating what she described as simple, convenient food. Her favorites? Canned soup, processed snacks, pickled vegetables, always with an extra dash of fish sauce. Despite being diagnosed with hypertension years ago, she often skipped medication. After all, a little salt can't hurt. But one morning, her daughter found her collapsed on the kitchen floor, unable to move, unable to speak. She was rushed to the hospital. The diagnosis, ischemic stroke caused by uncontrolled hypertension, fueled by years of salt overload. Alice's life changed overnight, from independence to immobility, from self-sufficiency to needing full-time care. And her greatest regret? Not listening sooner, not cutting back on the salt she thought was harmless. I don't want you or your loved ones to be the next Alice. So let me be clear, you have the power to protect your brain. And it starts with simple, life-saving choices. One of the most effective ways to protect your brain is to make smarter, simpler food choices every day. Start by choosing fresh, wholesome ingredients. Lean chicken, fresh fish, eggs, and plenty of fresh or frozen vegetables. These foods are naturally low in sodium and packed with the nutrients your body needs to stay strong and sharp. When you cook, try to reduce the amount of salt you use. You don't have to sacrifice flavor. Instead, use natural seasonings like garlic, chili, and fresh herbs to make your meals delicious without putting your brain at risk. Always pay attention to food labels because more than 70% of the sodium we consume comes from processed and restaurant foods, not from the salt you add at home. If you use canned products like beans or vegetables, don't forget to give them a good rinse under running water. This simple step can wash away up to 40% of the excess sodium. Be mindful when eating out as well. Ask for less salt, choose sauces on the side, and check the nutritional information when you can. And balance your meals with more potassium-rich foods. Potassium helps offset sodium's harmful effects, keeping your blood vessels healthier. Sweet potatoes, dark leafy greens, tomatoes, yogurt, and bananas are just a few examples of brain-friendly foods you should be eating more often. Small changes like these can make a big difference in protecting your brain and reducing your risk of stroke. And finally, I am begging you. Dear seniors, this knowledge about salt doesn't just protect you, it shields your family too. Teach your children. Guide your grandchildren. Remind your spouse. Because the small choices you make today shape the health and happiness of your entire family tomorrow. Your future, your independence, your brain, they're worth every effort. Now let's move to the second food group that silently raises the risk of stroke in older adults. You might already have some idea. Yes, it's processed meats and red meats. Sounds obvious, doesn't it? But from my years of clinical practice, I can tell you, most people have no idea how deeply harmful these foods can be, or how silently they damage your heart and brain every single day. So please, listen carefully because this could be the knowledge that saves you or your loved ones from a life-altering stroke. When I say processed meats, I mean your favorite sausages, bacon, ham, salami, deli meats, and red meats like beef, pork, or lamb. These are staples in many diets, but they come with an invisible cost. Processed and red meats are loaded with multiple dangers. Let's start with saturated fat. These fats raise your LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, clogging your arteries with sticky, fatty plaques. These plaques make your arteries narrower and stiffer, slowly choking off the blood and oxygen your brain desperately needs. Until one day, the flow stops completely, and you suffer an ischemic stroke. Then comes the sodium. We already saw how sodium raises your blood pressure, swelling your vessels and damaging their fragile walls. Processed meats are among the worst offenders, packing enormous amounts of hidden sodium into every bite. And it doesn't end there. The preservatives, nitrites and nitrates, may seem like harmless chemicals, but inside your body, they can spark oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. This combination damages the lining of your blood vessels, accelerates plaque formation, and fuels a cycle of vascular injury. A dangerous cocktail that pushes you closer to stroke, heart attack, and even memory loss. And if you're over 60, the danger multiplies. Your body becomes less efficient at processing these harmful compounds. Your vessels are more fragile, your metabolism is slower, and the risks skyrocket. Sounds scarier than you imagined, doesn't it? It's not just a little bacon or a simple sausage anymore. It's a daily assault on your brain and arteries. Let me give you a number that shook even me. A large study on adults showed this horrifying statistic. People in the highest group of red meat consumption had a 119% higher risk of stroke compared to those in the lowest group, even after adjusting for age, gender, and total calories. Just let that sink in. Eating more red meat more than doubles your stroke risk. And I've seen the damage with my own eyes. One of my patients, Mr. John, was 72 years old. A man who loved traditional foods, pork stew, sausages, salty preserved meats, especially for dinner. His children warned him over and over because he had a history of high blood pressure and cholesterol. But his answer was always the same. I've eaten this way all my life. I can't change now. Then came the morning that changed everything. He woke up with a drooping face, numbness down one side, and couldn't speak clearly. At the hospital, we diagnosed an ischemic stroke caused by a large clot. His cholesterol was sky high, his arteries clogged with hardened plaques. His nightly meals, packed with saturated fat and sodium, had been silently pushing him towards this moment for years. Mr. John survived. But life was never the same. Months of therapy, dependence on family, the freedom of his golden years, gone. And every time I visited him, I saw the same painful regret in his eyes. If only I had listened sooner. But you have the chance to listen now, to change before it's too late. Here's what I always tell my patients. Start by cutting out processed meats. Sausages, bacon, ham. They're not harmless snacks. They're silent health threats. Limit red meat too. And when you do eat it, choose lean cuts, remove visible fat, and cook them by grilling or steaming, never frying. Swap these risky foods for healthier proteins like salmon, mackerel, skinless chicken, lentils, chickpeas, tofu, and nuts. They protect your heart and brain. And don't forget your vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. They naturally lower cholesterol, balance blood pressure, and keep your arteries clean. Every meal you choose wisely is a step away from stroke and a step toward a healthier, longer life. And one more thing I cannot stress enough. Reducing red and processed meats won't just protect your brain from stroke, it will also shield you from diabetes, memory loss, and even certain cancers. Seniors, your food choices hold the key to your health, your independence, and your future. Let your meals be your medicine, not your downfall. You can change your story, starting with your very next plate. Now let's move on to the third part of today's video, and I want to ask you something. Can you believe that even healthy, nutritious meals can silently push you toward a stroke? It sounds unbelievable, right? How could eating healthy food possibly harm you? But you're not mistaken. What we're talking about here is not just what you eat, but when and how much you eat, especially at night. Yes, eating too late in the evening and overeating at dinner are hidden dangers that too many people ignore. Let me explain why timing matters more than you think, especially for seniors. Eating late at night can quietly disrupt your body's natural rhythm, your circadian clock, which is responsible for balancing blood pressure, metabolism, and hormonal repair processes. You see, during a healthy night's sleep, your blood pressure is supposed to drop naturally. It's part of the body's way of resting and repairing itself. But when you eat late, especially heavy meals, your digestive system stays active when it should be winding down. This keeps your blood pressure elevated throughout the night, quietly damaging your arteries, especially the tiny, delicate vessels in your brain. It doesn't stop there. At night, your body also becomes less sensitive to insulin. That means your blood sugar levels rise higher and stay elevated longer after a late night meal, especially if it's rich in carbs or sugars. And over time, this combination, sustained high blood pressure and prolonged high blood sugar, injures your blood vessels, promotes inflammation, and increases the risk of clot formation while you sleep. Your brain is supposed to be healing, but instead, it's under attack. The science backs this up. Large-scale studies show that every single hour you delay dinner increases your risk of stroke by about 8%. And people who eat after 9 p.m., they have a staggering 28% higher risk of stroke and transient ischemic attacks, mini strokes, compared to those who finish dinner before 8 p.m. I wish I could tell you this is just theory, but I've seen it happen. Let me tell you about Maria. Maria was 78, full of life, but with a long-standing habit. She stayed up late, often past 11 p.m., and always ate dinner late, usually around 9 or 10 at night. Her meals were rich, heavy, often filled with oily meats and large portions of rice. Despite having high blood pressure, Maria rarely followed her treatment plan closely. One night, after a big dinner of braised pork and white rice at 10 p.m., Maria felt uncomfortably full and restless in bed. At around 2 a.m., she woke up dizzy, her arm and leg numb, and her words slurred beyond recognition. Her son, hearing strange noises, found her collapsed and rushed her to the hospital. The diagnosis was clear: ischemic stroke caused by a clot blocking the blood flow to her brain. Doctors explained the grim truth. Years of late-night eating, heavy dinners, and neglecting her blood pressure had overloaded her heart and brain, disrupted her body's rhythm, and led to a preventable stroke. Maria survived. But with half her body paralyzed, her independence lost, and a long, difficult rehabilitation ahead. Her life was changed forever from habits she once thought were harmless. And that's why I'm here, to remind you that these small, daily choices have long-term consequences. But there is hope, because simple changes can make a world of difference. Start by eating dinner earlier, ideally before 7 p.m., or at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. This gives your body time to digest and reset before sleep. Keep dinner light, avoid stuffing yourself, and steer clear of heavy, fatty, salty meals at night. Make dinner the smallest meal of your day, not the biggest. Skip late-night snacks, especially those sugary or salty temptations like chips, cookies, or ice cream. Protect your internal clock by maintaining regular meal and sleep schedules. Your body thrives on routine. And one more simple but powerful habit: take a short 20-minute walk after dinner. This small step helps digestion, controls your blood sugar, and reduces your risk of diabetes, high blood pressure, and stroke. Eating late may not trigger a stroke immediately, but over time, it builds a dangerous environment inside your body, especially for your heart and brain. Seniors, protecting yourself starts with controlling your evenings. Make your dinner light, your nights peaceful, and your sleep restorative. Because your brain deserves every chance to heal, not suffer in silence. Next, we move on to something that seems small, even harmless, maybe even economical. But its impact on your brain and heart health is anything but small. I'm talking about a habit many of us have fallen into at least once in life: reusing cooking oil. You know what I mean. That leftover oil from lunchtime used again for a quick fried egg at dinner. It feels practical, it avoids waste, it saves money. But behind that feeling of thriftiness lies a silent and dangerous assault on your health. Especially for seniors, this one habit can quietly increase your risk of stroke without you even realizing it. As a brain doctor, I've seen firsthand how little habits like this become unconscious routines. But the danger of reused oil isn't just about it being processed food. It's about what it does to your blood vessels. Every time you heat oil repeatedly, especially at high temperatures, it undergoes oxidation, creating an explosion of free radicals inside your food. These free radicals damage your cells, accelerate aging, and promote chronic inflammation throughout your body. And chronic inflammation isn't harmless. It's a well-known root cause of heart disease, diabetes, and yes, stroke. Worse still, reused oil breaks down into toxic compounds like aldehydes, such as acrolein, which have been linked to cancer, organ damage, and weakened immunity. These toxic molecules don't just float around harmlessly. They attack the delicate inner lining of your arteries, making them stiff, fragile, and prone to clotting. And when clots form in the wrong place, like the tiny vessels in your brain, disaster follows. Research also shows that these oxidized compounds can raise your blood pressure, especially dangerous for older adults who are already more sensitive to toxic buildup and have slower detoxification. High blood pressure is one of the biggest risk factors for stroke, especially hemorrhagic stroke, where a vessel ruptures inside the brain. So while reusing oil might save a few pennies, it could cost you your independence, your mobility, even your life. That's why I urge you to break this habit today. Never reuse cooking oil. It's simply not worth the risk to your brain and heart. Limit fried and fast foods altogether. Street food, fried chicken, French fries. They are often cooked in oil that's been reused again and again to cut costs. Seniors, avoid these ticking time bombs. If you must fry food occasionally, choose oils with a high smoke point like rice bran oil, canola oil, or sunflower oil, and use them once, never twice. Avoid animal fats like lard or pork fat. Their saturated fats further increase your stroke risk. Cook with as little oil as possible. Steam, grill, bake, or stew instead. Your heart and brain will thank you. Reusing oil may not cause an immediate stroke, but day by day it creates the perfect storm inside your body. Inflamed arteries, higher blood pressure, greater clotting risks. It's time to protect yourself, because every meal is either feeding your brain or slowly weakening it. Choose wisely, live fully, because your health is too precious to gamble on saving a little oil. And now, we've come to the final hidden danger in today's video, one that tastes sweet but quietly damages your brain. It's sugary foods and drinks. They look innocent, don't they? Colorful cakes, refreshing soft drinks, fruity juices. They seem harmless, even comforting. But beneath that sweetness hides a storm of health risks, especially for older adults. We're talking about sugar-loaded drinks, sodas, boxed fruit juices, sweetened teas, energy drinks, and sugary treats like cakes, cookies, and pastries. At first glance, they seem like small indulgences, but I've seen time and again how these little pleasures cause real, lasting harm. You see, these treats are packed with refined sugar, processed carbohydrates, inflammatory oils, and artificial additives. Every bite spikes your blood sugar, floods your bloodstream with inflammation, and slowly weakens your delicate blood vessels, especially the tiny arteries in your brain. It's a dangerous roller coaster. Your blood sugar soars after that cookie or snack, then crashes down. That spike triggers inflammation, and over time, that inflammation damages the vessel lining, making it sticky, rough, and unstable. Your body responds by producing clotting factors, trying to repair the damage. But instead, it forms clots, silent, deadly clots that can block small vessels in your brain and cause a stroke when you least expect it. Sugary drinks are just as harmful. Frequent consumption leads to weight gain, insulin resistance, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes, all powerful stroke risk factors. Even diet drinks are not safe. One study of over 81,000 postmenopausal women found that drinking 2 or more diet sodas per day raised stroke risk by 23%, especially in obese women and black women. And the worst part, breakfast. Breakfast is supposed to set you up for health, yet it's often the meal that secretly harms you the most. Sugary cereals, pancakes with syrup, processed muffins, sweetened low-fat yogurts. They trigger massive sugar spikes first thing in the morning. Your insulin surges in response, activating clotting pathways, creating small clots that can block oxygen flow to parts of your brain, sometimes without any warning. This is why I always tell my patients, cut back on sugary foods and drinks, especially in the morning. Choose water over soda, juices, or sweetened drinks. Be mindful, even diet drinks with artificial sweeteners can disrupt your metabolism. Avoid boxed juices, sweet alcoholic drinks, and processed snacks, especially if you have diabetes or high blood pressure. The sweetness may seem harmless, but for your heart, your arteries, and your brain, it can be a silent poison. Protect yourself. Feed your body with nourishment, not destruction. And that brings us to the end of the most important lessons in today's video. You've learned about the silent foods and habits that quietly raise the risk of stroke. But before we finish, there are a few extra tips I want to leave you with. First, be mindful of coffee. Too much caffeine can raise your heart rate, increase blood pressure, reduce circulation to the brain, disturb your sleep, and even raise the risk of clot formation. Second, always drink enough water. Many seniors lose their sense of thirst, but dehydration thickens your blood, slows circulation, and increases clotting risks. Simple hydration can go a long way in stroke prevention. And remember, life is about balance. I'm not asking you to give up every little joy. At your grandchild's birthday party, enjoy a small piece of cake. At your class reunion, share a nice meal with old friends. What truly matters is your daily routine, the habits you repeat every single day. That's where real health is built or lost. So if you have unhealthy eating habits, start changing today. Don't wait until disease strikes. Act now for your own well-being and for the people who love you. Love your body, cherish your memories, and care for the family around you. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. We'll be back with more life-saving health tips for seniors.